Tom Arthur, I know you're at the other end, so we're going to have to swing round to you. There we go. Yep, there he is. The obvious fly in the ointment of what Nicola Sturgeon is saying, she says she would like to have an independence referendum before the end of the current Parliament. The response from Westminster will be, sorry, how many times do we have to say no? And the obvious question is, what do you do then?
Well, I think what we've heard again and again is Theresa May saying now is not the time, but it's clear for Theresa May that time is running out. So we don't know what government we're going to have in the UK in 6 days, never mind 6 months from now. I think, as we have seen over the past 3 years, the public attitude towards Brexit is resulting in a shift towards independence. And I believe as more and more people move towards supporting independence, it will become an unsustainable position for the UK government to continue to ignore that.
Unsustainable in what sense?
Well, I think it would be a democratic outrage. I think as more and more people begin to support independence...
Well, you might think that, but what's going to make them think that?
Well, I would at least have hope and faith in the UK government if they recognise that there's a majority, a clear majority of people in Scotland supporting independence and wanting that independence referendum, that they would accept that as Democrats and grant Section 30.
Now, can I ask you a question? And you may look at Mark Griffin, if you like, when you answer it, which is that you said you don't know how long the current government's going to be in power. Should there be an election and there was a Jeremy Corbyn government which needed the SNP's support, which seems a credible outcome, a possible outcome anyway, would you expect Labour to grant you a Section 30 order?
Well, clearly, whether there will be a general election or not remains to be seen. I think if there is a general election and the result comes about where a Labour government could potentially be supported by the SNP group at Westminster, I think that would clearly be something that would be up for discussion. But I would hope fundamentally that all parties, regardless of our difference on the Constitution, that first and foremost we are Democrats and we would all recognise the right of the people of Scotland to determine their own future.
Well, Mark Griffin, it's a bit of a problem for Richard Leonard, isn't it? Because while he's absolutely adamant, he says not only should there not be another independence referendum, but the next UK general election manifesto of the Labour Party should make clear a Section 30 order will not be granted. But Jeremy Corbyn's not prepared to make any such commitment.
I think Richard Leonard is absolutely right. There should be no second divisive independence referendum.
Well,
there is no
right,
public support for that. There's no majority support for that.
Yeah, but what will matter when Tom Arthur's colleagues may be supporting a Labour government is not what Richard Leonard says, is what Jeremy Corbyn says.
But the SNP will have to make a choice between putting Theresa May back into number 10, further austerity, or perhaps even Boris Johnson into number 10, or a Labour government who will put billions of pounds investment into Scotland. That's the choice MPs will have to make. Are we
being serious here? We have a general election, Labour need SNP support to form a government, and you say to the SNP, oh, you can't have another independence referendum, and if you don't just come into a coalition with us or agree to support us without an independence referendum, you'll be helping the Tories. And you seriously expect the SNP to say, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that, fine.
Well, absolutely. If the SNP want to put another Tory into Downing Street, they'll pay a heavy political price for that in Scotland. They will be left in no option but to support a Labour government that will put billions of pounds of additional funding into Scotland. I can't see any other option for the SNP.
Well, Tom Arthur, Peter Chapman, your response to Tom Arthur's idea that even the government, as he would see it in Westminster, will see the democratic validity of another referendum and agree to a Section 30 order?
Well, not anytime soon, I would argue, Gordon, but there is no will in Scotland for another divisive independence referendum. The polls show us that nothing has moved since last time. Nicola Sturgeon made the promise that the only way she would come forward with another independence referendum is if the people of Scotland demanded it. There is absolutely no evidence that that is the case. So we say, take it off the table, start dealing with the things that are important to the people of Scotland. We've got a crisis in our education system, we've got a crisis in our NHS, we've got roads falling to pieces, we've got railways that don't run in time. Let's get on with that.
But your view would be that a Conservative government in London, should it continue until 2021, will continue to say to Nicola Sturgeon, no, you cannot have a Section 30 order?
Not at this time would be the answer, absolutely. That remains the answer. That has been the answer till now. We have enough chaos.
This time means until after 2021?
Well, I wouldn't rule it out forever, but it's certainly not at this time.
Meaning not until 2021?
Well, certainly not before 2021, no.
Okay, now, John Finney, the irony of your enthusiasm for a referendum, isn't it, is that the whole basis of the SNP's claim to have a mandate is that they said in their manifesto last time that should there be a Brexit referendum and Scotland vote to stay in the EU and the rest of the UK vote to get out, that would give them a mandate. Your manifesto said no such thing.
I think the reality is that we need to respond to the situations that develop. And what I was going to mention earlier, what you've heard
you've got no
from my two
mandate
unions,
for a
well,
referendum.
if you let me finish the point on unionist colleagues, this building, for instance, was designed so that people would cooperate, would work together. The divisions that come are when people don't listen to the public and when people don't talk together, as we've seen with the budget. So it's entirely consistent with the Greens' position to say that we've come to a point now with the chaos that's been visited on us by Brexit. And on a daily basis, I was at a committee meeting this morning with Peter where he knows the disaster that's going to be visited on our sheep industry, for instance, as a result of Brexit, that we take steps to give people the option of looking at other ways. I think what's interesting with this process is the order in which it's been done on this occasion. So it's the legislation and then down the road the Section 30 order, and I think that makes it interesting.
The point you're ignoring is that the entire basis of the SNP's claim to have a mandate...
Well, I'm not here to speak for the SNP.
No, let me finish. I'll let you finish. The entire basis of the SNP's claim to have a mandate for another referendum is what they said in their manifesto. Your manifesto said no such thing. If I remember correctly, it said you'd only call for another independence referendum if there was a 1 million-strong petition.
The difficulty with some of the positions that the other parties have adopted is they're frozen in time. The reality is we need to respond to the situation as is at the moment. The very people who are saying no referendum now are the very people who are telling us we would never be in this situation because the way to guarantee membership of the European Union was to remain part of the United Kingdom. Now that was found not to be the case and we need to respond to that, and one of the ways of responding is to give the people the choice to remain part of the European Union as part of an independent Scotland.
All right, so you get to change your mind whenever you'll feel like it, is basically what you're saying.
Well, I think you have to be pragmatic. The difficulty has come because, for instance, a UK Prime Minister is unwilling to respond to circumstances.
Okay, very quickly, Tom Arthur. I mean, you heard what Peter Chapman said there, and I suspect that may well represent the views of the British government. I mean, would you accept that should the government in London not concede a Section 30 order, there will be no referendum before the elections in 2021?
I think ultimately if the scenario prevails where Scotland is dragged out of the European Union against its will before 2021 and clarity emerges, I think the demand for a referendum in Scotland will be overwhelming. And the UK government may say, we the government say no, but the people of Scotland reply, we are the people, and we say yes.
All right, look, let's get a nice shot of all of you. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us this week. Now,